$1 million.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Price Check Episode 14. My name is Octavian, and I will be your host through the choppy waters of the murky lake that is checking your items' prices. For those of you who are unaware of what this series stands for and what we do here on the Price Check series, my name is Octavian, as I mentioned earlier, and I am here to help you learn how to price check your own items through example. I grabbed this one tab full of unidentified gear, a bunch of wisdom scrolls, put them together, see what they've got, and then price check them accordingly. And also, on top of that, I always set aside a small pile of items, one or two of which I then price check at the end that I know have some amount of value, or at least an interesting stat or two, so we can see what they're worth and still have something to price check even if this tab turns up nothing great. So, with that said, let's get started. And usually I come down this side. Let's come from top to bottom this time. That'll be fun. That'll be fun, guys. So very exciting. Dink, dink. Okay. And yes, as I say at the beginning of most episodes, very real possibility that there's just a bunch of junk in this tab. And the majority of stuff you pick up is not going to be any good. But that doesn't mean it's not worth picking up for the most part. I mean, the majority of stuff that drops you shouldn't pick up, but if you have a good loot filter, which I can recommend one, it's down in the description below if you're in the market for one. Life, cold damage, rarity, resistance. Life is kind of low, but the cold damage is good. Resistances are passable, and rarity isn't a bad roll to have. All in all, I wouldn't say that this has that much value. Early on in the league, this definitely could sell. Cold damage is something I'm still looking out for because Frostblades is quite popular. I'm going to hold on to this. We'll throw it up for maybe 3 chaos to start. 2, 3 chaos. Give it a chance to sell at that price, then probably lower it down to 1 and eventually vendor it. Similar, but ES instead of life, and that kills it. Also a lower cold damage roll. 87 life. Nothing else of note. Unfortunate that I didn't have a good life roll on it. Could have been quite good. 22 life. Not enough life. Not very synergistic. Projectile damage, not really worth hogging in my opinion. Damage, cold damage, crit strike chances, one-handed melee weapons. That's 3 damage props, arguably. Obviously the totem all res doesn't really matter on this, but it is a 3 prop damage jewel for like Frostblades. Maybe that sells for like 3 or 4 chaos, because crit chance is not really what you're looking for on a jewel like this. Crit multi would be much, much better. But, you know, still 3 synergistic damage props that are relatively generic, except for that last one, which is specific to one-handed melee. Okay, no good explicit life, low life, though with the strength it's not that bad, but it's got nothing else going for it. Just resistances, not worth hogging. No movement speed, no life. We are looking for generally spell damage, spell crit, that sort of thing on these daggers. Attack speed is good for both physical daggers and spell daggers. Because even if you're a spellcaster, you do want to whirling blades or shield charge around quickly, and attack speed, local attack speed on your weapon is really, really, really important for doing that. Lightning damage and poison damage obviously doesn't really mix unless you're going full Taxic, and that's not particularly popular. Area damage, melee fizz while holding a shield. This is something that maybe you're tempted to regal this, because, you know, if you hit life, that's a good jewel, but your chances of hitting life are really, really low, and you'd have to hit, like, crit multi or something otherwise. Like, life and crit multi are the only things that you could hit on this that would give it value, and I don't think that's worth a regal, personally. I don't really regal 2 damage props unless they're really good damage props, like 2 crit multi rolls, or crit multi in area, or crit multi in just generic damage, like something generic, really generic, and crit multi, or double crit multi, which I think all crit multi rolls are are suffixes rather, so I don't think you can even have that. Good armor roll, pretty good life roll, low resist, reduced flash charges used. This is an okay belt. Nothing amazing, but it's okay. Percent armor and ES actually goes pretty well together because of Aegis builds. Low crit multi and cold damage to attacks doesn't really catch my interest though. 92 life, 44 strength, some armor. Almost worth volleying, but not quite. Would like it to have a resist. We're missing a life roll, so it's garbage. That is a good amount of evasion on the buckler slot, but we're missing a life roll. Strength, high ES, flask effect duration, resist. I mean, there's not really a big market for ES belts, particularly ES rustic sashes, but there are some people out there who would want this. It's got a collection of good rolls. The strength in particular is quite good alongside Energy Shield because a lot of ES builds are going to need that strength. We can maybe get this to sell, just not at a particularly high price. That's a good reduced flash charges used roll, but paired with a bad life roll, it's still not going to sell. +5 life, goodbye. Crit multi, I like to see that, but the rest is not particularly great. Crit barrage damage could have been useful, but attack speed and Energy Shield recharge rate, no. And nothing doing there. Okay. Well, we got a few small successes off of that first badge. Let's see what we were going to price this at. This ring, I was going to start at 3 and move down. This belt, I think it's reasonable to start at 3 and move down as well. And you too. Okay, sure. This ring, because it's kind of lukewarm on its rolls. This belt for the same reason. And this belt, because it's a bit out of meta, I'll start a little cheaper. And as always, I do try and keep a bit of a variety of bases and gear types and that sort of thing in each episode. So I actually don't usually pick up Colossal Tower Shields or Spirit Shields very often or helmets too often, but I know that people are going to be picking those up and will maybe want to know what rolls they should look out for on them. So, but I don't have success with them very frequently, so I've sort of phased them out of what I'm picking up. 129% increased fizz, and then no flat fizz and low attack speed, so not really worthwhile. Burning damage, damage with bleeding, and fizz damage with dual wielding does not synergize so well. Good stats and an okay rarity roll, nothing else. Those are all like value add. You know, if you have the core of your ring should be life and resistances, and then, or maybe really, really, really disgustingly high damage. And then you can look for stats and rarity and, you know, more damage rolls and that sort of thing. But life and resists should be the core of your ring. We didn't put this back up. That's the same jewel that we went over before. I was like, whoa, serious deja vu. No, we didn't roll the same jewel twice. I just didn't actually list it. My bad. Rarity resists and int. Rarity is something you're looking for more frequently on breach rings because it's nice to have that doubled. But no life and poor resists. No life, bad resists. No life, bad resists. 20% ES and some WED. Even accuracy and crit strike chance. That's an interesting amulet. I'm going to try to sell this, but I don't think it's going to, if I'm honest. But I believe there's room for a resist on there, and someone could craft their resist. If they can use the percent ES and WED, then the accuracy is going to be nice, and so is crit strike chance. It actually does synergize really well together for the right build. And it's on an int base, which then is also useful for someone building ES. So, crit strike, flat ES, and all res on an onyx base. I mean, not all res, fire res on an onyx base. That one I'm not so confident in. We can try and sell it. So let's go throw that up for 1C and that up for 3. A lot of 3C today. Local lightning, nothing else to speak of. Spell damage roll is too low. So is the flat fire dispels. 85 life and a decent resist. If this had movement speed, it could sell, but without it, I don't think so. +2 to socketed minion gems. That's actually something you should be looking out for on helmets pretty frequently because that is a really, really powerful roll for builds that want like a 4-link SRS in their Spectre summoner. Or maybe their Golem summoner. I don't know. 4-link SRS and a +2 socketed minion gems helm is just great supplementary damage for any minion build. It doesn't have good enough other rolls. Ooh, you're pretty bad. So are you. Well, that's a good fire damage to attacks roll, but everything else kind of meh. Decent life, okay chaos res, which is something you do want to look for in an ES base belt, but no. 59% crit strike chance for spells is kind of low. It's good crit and multi, but 1 to 5 lightning damage to spells is not particularly impressive. I think that's a really high flat ES roll now with the nerfs to flat ES, but I don't think that anything else on that shield is worth trying to sell it, so. Pop these away. I'm not sure why I didn't vendor you, but get out of my inventory. We're going to start, as I said, we'll start these both at 3. No, you are at 1. Yeah, I don't have much confidence in that, Sally. In this, it's a 3 damage prop jewel. But crit chance is not too great. Obviously, the totem all res doesn't matter. Let's put it up for 2C. And the last little badge. Hello, Navali. Have some more junk, why don't you? Ooh, that's a good local lightning damage roll. And then attack speed is what I want to see, but it's a very low attack speed roll, which is unfortunate, because this could have gone places if it had a little more ally damage and higher attack speed. So it's pretty far off for being a good sword, but it had the right start. A little bit movement speed, but it's low and there's no life. No life, no resistances. This is garbage. That is a horrible amulet. That's a pretty bad belt. 78 life, some crit strike chance. Life gain on kill and low rarity doesn't intrigue me though. I don't think that'll sell. It was a good start. Again, no life, bad resists. No life, no resists. Very low life. 77 life is a decent start, but doesn't go anywhere else with it. And bad life, bad resists. No life, no resists. Attack speed, totem life. Not particularly interesting. Okay, well, that's it for our tab. We had a few minor things here or there crop up, but no particular gems in this episode. However, as always, I do set aside some gear to be price checked, and let's see what I've got this time around. What is this chest piece? Life resists on an Assassin's Guard base. I don't know why I set that aside. It's not particularly interesting, but I suppose we can check it. I actually don't think that's going to be worth that much because chest pieces drop real hard in value as the league goes on, especially because there's so many good unique chest pieces for all different types of builds. But we can check it. We can see just how valuable it is. And you. Crit multi-fizz strength? Nah. We've done too many amulets like that recently. Spell damage, 2 high stats, percent ES, and evasion. That is some real big stat numbers. Spell damage, fire damage, flat to spells, cast speed. That actually seems interesting. Let's look at that. Alright. Sometimes I don't understand why I set aside items myself. Let's transition over to the browser window and we'll give these two items a look-see. So the first one is this pretty basic chest piece. And we're actually going to specify Assassin's Garb here because it's, in my opinion, the best evasion base if you're not going for a unique one, obviously. You get that 3% increased movement speed, which is great. Let's look for a minimum of 900 evasion, but cap it out at 1100. I know it can go a good amount higher. Life is 101, so let's search for 90 minimum life, but cap it out at 120. Let's search for... It has 2 really good resists. I'll give it that. 47 cold, 44 lightning. So that's 80 plus 11. It's 91 resists. We're actually going to do a pseudo resistance total. Let's do 80 to 100. And hopefully we'll find something similar. It's unlinked, so that's rough for it. But as you can see, I didn't really anticipate this being worth very much. For 1 chaos... You can get a chest piece that's slightly brickier. You have flat life regen and the stun and block recovery as a portion of a bad evasion roll. And that does matter, but I mean, we've got the stun and block recovery. Ours is a hybrid evasion roll. What can we craft on this? That's the wrong crafting bench. Haku, what you got for me? We can craft a stat, we can craft another resist, or we can craft, like, say, flat evasion or something. Or percent evasion. We can craft percent evasion. So you can get a bit more evasion on this, you can get a stat, you can get a resist. And that does actually matter, so... Let's scroll down a bit until we find one with an open suffix. See if we can accurately compare. Here's this. This is basically our chest piece. It's got similar evasion, though a bit less because it doesn't have the percent evasion. But it has, I think that's both an open prefix and suffix. And it's been up for 2C for a week without selling. So, as you can see, prices on chest pieces really do crash very quickly, especially if they're unlinked, which is why I don't bother picking them up very frequently. Because they're very large, and even if they roll pretty well, like arguably, this rolled quite well. It's just not worth anything still. It has to roll almost perfectly to outdo a lot of the unique chess pieces that are out in the field there. So we can put it up for 2C, give it a chance to sell, because it is very comparable to that 2C chest that we found. Admittedly, our resistances are higher, in that the specific cold res and lightning res were higher, but the total was about the same. So let's leave it up, see if it sells. Next, we're going to be checking this wand, which has a total of 76% increased spell damage, and then also 28 fire damage, which gives you 90, just over 100 and something fire spell damage combined. And then pretty key is the increased cast speed, and then a nice little benefit is the fire damage to spells. It's actually a pretty damn synergistic wand, but I'm not certain of its value because I'm still relatively new to price checking wands, especially spell ones. I don't play too many spellcaster builds, so I like to be thorough in my wand and dagger price checking efforts. So what we're going to do is search for a total fire spell damage of, what was that? What did we say? 76, 96 plus 8 is 104%. So do 95%. Oh, didn't mean to click you. And then put a cap of 120. So somewhere in that range. And then cast speed. And we've got 17%, so let's just put a minimum of 15%. I'm not actually going to cap that one. We'll search by that, and if we have to put in flat fire damage to narrow it down, which it looks like we will, we're going to add that in. So, actually, I don't think... The fire damage is synergistic, but I don't think that we want to exclude cold or lightning damage to spells as well. Because I think having any one of these would be relevant. And what is that? 15 plus 29 is 44, divided by 2 is 22. So an average of 22 fire damage to spells. So let's put in just like 20. Well, cold damage to spells will be similar, but lightning damage works differently because it has much wider ranges. We can just get that out of there. This is comparable. That does not come up. Okay. Oh, count. Not and. Don't need both. 20 results. That's better. Alright, so this obviously isn't quite as synergistic because it is that cold damage, but it's still giving me some useful information. 5C is our floor. That's cold damage again. Cold damage. 27% cast speed though, and we're still only looking at 10C. And it's been up for 2 days. So. Flat fire damage to spells though. I like to see this. This is quite similar to ours, actually. What's the total cast speed? 15%. We got 17, so 18 chaos for that. Up for 1 day. 3 weeks at 25C, so this is most certainly overpriced. 2 weeks at 30C, so we're getting into things that are likely overpriced. But this is, again, quite similar to our wand, actually. But it has a bit of crit strike chance for spells. So I think we're pushing into untenable territory here at the 30 chaos mark. And it's probably more close to the 15C mark. It's somewhat similar to these wands. So I'm going to start it at 15 and lower it over time. Wands like these don't have a very large market, so I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't sell until I lowered it quite a bit. But we'll give it a chance at 15 chaos. Alright. I think that's just about it for the episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It wasn't particularly eventful as far as the stash tab, the unID'd stash tab goes, but, you know, that happens every now and again. And I hope you enjoyed the video anyway. If you did and you want to catch more Octavian, you can always, you know, go back through the other 13 episodes or on forwards through the rest once they come out. But if even my YouTube channel is not enough for you, you can always find me over on my Twitch channel. I stream there live at least once a day, sometimes twice, and usually in the evenings. Evenings being Central Standard Time in America. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope to see you next time. Check out the description below for links to anything you could possibly want, and of course, leave comments if you've got them. I'll see you next time, guys.